Hello friends, today's session is on Hood's Dispatch of 1854. First of all, let's understand who was Charles Hood and what is Hood's Dispatch. Sir Charles Hood was the president of the Board of Control of East India Company. In the year 1854, he sent a dispatch to Lord Dalhousie, who was the then Governor General of India, and in this dispatch he suggested that primary schools must use vernacular languages, high schools Anglo vernacular languages, and English should be used as a medium of instruction at the college level. So clearly, we can see this. This was, in fact, the beginning of the realization that there is a need for making use of vernacular language as a medium of instruction. Prior to 1854, there was no mention of vernacular languages being used as a medium of instruction. So this is one of the reasons why this Woods dispatch is quite significant. Now, this in this regard, the dispatch made many recommendations, and regarding the aims and objectives of educational policy, the dispatch stated that the Britishers are ruling the country, so they are to take the educational responsibility, or they are to undertake the responsibility of educating the Indians. That is the first thing. Second is not just providing them with intellectual knowledge, but should also take care of the character formation and moral development. So that should also be the responsibility. And the ultimate aim of educational policy was to supply East India Company with capable public servants. So these were the recommendations as far as the aims and objectives of education policy is concerned. Now let's look at other recommendations of the dispatch. It talked about the medium of instruction, and in this regard recommended that both English and vernacular languages should be used as a medium of instruction. The dispatch suggested that in any general system of education, English can be used as a medium of instruction where there is a demand for it, but such instruction should always be complemented with the study of vernacular languages. Very clearly, we can see that he suggested making use of both English and vernacular languages as a medium of instruction. Another important recommendation of the dispatch was establishment of Department of Education. So the dispatch recommended for the establishment of educational department in each presidency, and this department would be under the charge of an officer called DPI, and this DPI was to undertake the responsibility of overall growth of education in his presidency. Along with this, the dispatch also recommended for the establishment of universities in each presidencies that offer both regular and liberal courses in arts and sciences. Further, the dispatch recommended that the university should be established on the model of London University. Along with the establishment of universities, the dispatch also recommended that since mass education had been neglected for quite some time, so there is a need for expansion of mass education, and for this purpose, there is a need for establishment of network of graded schools all over the country. So, network of graded schools means at the top there will be a university followed by college, then secondary schools, then middle schools, and primary schools, all forming some sort of a network, and these schools are to take care of offering mass education. And the dispatch also recommended that these education institutions will be sufficiently supported by a suitable granting aid system. So, granting aid is nothing but some sort of financial assistance that is provided to educational institutions. Another important recommendation of the dispatch was it believed in the idea of religious neutrality. That means, dispatch believed that since educational institutions are established for the benefit of the people, so voluntary religious education can be offered in government institutions, but that too outside the school hours. The dispatch also recommended for the training of teachers that should be carried out in both schools as well as in colleges. So that means there has to be proper training given to the teachers teaching in both schools and colleges, and the expenses for these training schools are to be borne by granting aid system. In addition to this, the dispatch also recommended for provision of vernacular school books that provide European information to the lower class of the schools. Additionally, the dispatch also made recommendations regarding the fact that in terms of or in matters of employment, preference will be given to those who are educated over uneducated people. Dispatch also was very keen about vocational education. That's why it recommended about the establishment of vocational colleges and schools of industry. Likewise, it also talked about the need for women's education, and these education of women or schools offering women's education are to be supported by ranking age systems. So very clearly we can see that the Woods Dispatch of 1854 touched upon many crucial points that these which were neglected during the before the dispatch of 1854. It talked about education of women, vocational education, university education, mass education. So these things were completely neglected before 1854, and because of this reason, Wood's Dispatch of 1854 is often known as the Magna Carta of English education in India.